It's interesting. I was reflecting. I read some comments on the scriptures and stuff for today, just to get some different ideas. And one of the commentaries that I read, or the idea he proposed, was to think about. And I remember at times reflecting about this: is how do we keep time? Because Paul talked about a very different type of timekeeping. But for us, how do we, keep time? I can remember when devices like Palm Pilots and phones and cell phones first came up. I thought it was really strange when you would ask somebody, what time is it? And they pull out their phone and not look at their wristwatch, going forward. Because everybody would do the wristwatch thing. And it would always be, did you wind it? Did you not wind it? Did it replace the battery? Did you not replace the battery? And at times it didn't do things, didn't keep good time. But it was, how did you keep the time? And the Lord in the gospel talks about there's a different time coming where we do not know the time or the hour, and somebody's going to be taken and all this stuff. And that's always an interesting thing, because I think I shared this before. Had a conversation with somebody one time, and they talked about, well, Father, when do you think the end times is going to come? And I go, you know what? I don't know. But does it really matter? If you think about it, if we're living the way God invites us to live, if we're doing what we can do using our talents and gifts to proclaim God's gospel, does it really make a difference when it comes? Because we should be prepared. And today, on the first Sunday of Advent, I should wish everybody a happy Christian Catholic New Year, because this is the first day of our new year, because we begin a new liturgical season. All our readings were changed and going forward, and we're called for these 4 weeks to prepare to remember the birth, to celebrate the birthday of our Lord. And we have 4 weeks to kind of get settled and try to figure out, or try to have an experience of what exactly that means for us, or for me, or in my family. Because I'm sure if each one of us went over our weeks or our year, there were ups and there were downs, there was gladness, there was celebration, there was sadness, there was crying, and that's just all part of our lives. And in a real way, I remember when Father Jack Turney was first here as a deacon, I remember saying one time, and he thought it was a neat idea, so I'll share it again. Today on the first Sunday of Advent, it's like getting a card in the mail, save the date, December 25th. You're invited to something important on the 25th of December, the celebration of the birthday of our Lord. And if you got any type of save the dates for weddings or for baptisms or for parties or whatever, you look at it and then you have to figure out, well, I'm going to put it in my calendar, and first I got to see, can I go? When you get to save the date. What does it mean for us to say that on the 25th, we will celebrate something that has changed our lives, that has called us into something different, that has called us to live, to remember somebody who invites us to do things differently, and to prepare for that celebration over these next 4 weeks. What do we need to do, or what should we do? Now, hopefully we're not going to get all concerned about, I don't have a good clothes to go for that. I think our Lord, as Paul was talking about this special time, was talking about how is it that our hearts are going to be settled in the Lord. And St. Augustine has a neat quote that fits into this time of Advent, which is, our hearts are restless until they rest in you, Lord. And on this first Sunday of Advent, I think that's a good rallying cry for us to think about how are our restless hearts preparing to receive or to celebrate the Lord's birthday on the 25th, given our whole history, individually, as a people, as a family, as a person, that we've lived through this past year. How is it that we're called to change our lives? And at times there's individual changes that we have to make, maybe being less critical, being kinder, being more patient, not being as lazy, doing all that stuff. And then there's also maybe a communal part of our preparing for that Lord's birth. How do I walk with somebody that has less than I do? How do I forgive somebody who has done me wrong? How do I make peace with somebody who maybe I haven't talked to in 20 years and they're on my mind for some reason, and I need to reconcile or think of reconcile because God is nudging me in that particular way. So today, as we begin our preparation for to celebrate, to remember the birth of our Lord, we're invited, maybe thinking of Augustine, what do our restless hearts need? To rest in the Lord that calls us into his life in order that we may give life that we may have life for ourselves and give lives to others.